Out of the Ordinary Insights, brought to you by Investec Specialist Bank.
You're watching Captains of Industry here on CNBC Africa. We're speaking to Henry Laas, the CEO of Murray & Roberts. Henry, let's go back to the construction industry as a whole and what you see going forward. You've already made the point that more than 50% of your order book is outside of South Africa. Perhaps starting there, do you see that share of order book expanding beyond 50% outside of South Africa?
I think that will happen, but that would not necessarily be a deliberate attempt on our side. It's just that the opportunity in the markets in which we are active in outside of South Africa, I think, is just growing faster than what we experience in South Africa. So it will be a consequence of the differential in the growth rates that we experience in the local market and the other markets that we're active in.
I can't talk to you about the South African construction industry without mentioning the Competition Commission.
Yes.
Are those troubles behind us? Let me use that terminology.
I would like to say yes. Within Murray & Roberts, I can talk with a high level of confidence that there's a very high level of sensitivity. People are sensitive about what happened in the past, and not to fall into that trap again. I can't speak on behalf of other companies, but I think this awareness has been established and well established throughout all the players in the sector. Now, obviously, we would love to get the competition matters behind us as soon as possible. We've been waiting since, I would say, about September of last year. We were ready to settle with the competition authorities back then. But the process is a process where the timeline is not determined by us, but by the competition authorities. But we are hopeful that it will be resolved in the current calendar year, 2013.
Do you think we'll see more shake-up in the South African construction industry, or are the heavyweights here to stay?
I think the heavyweights are here to stay. What I do believe is that I think there are too many players in the sector. At some stage there needs to be some.
And that's where you get the margin pressure, because people will do the work at any margin.
Yes, I think. Well, I wouldn't say. I think they all try to be responsible in the way in which they take on new work. But it is so easy when you find yourselves in a position that you submit a tender at a low margin, where you've cut costs to the bone, that something may go wrong and you end up with a problem. So it's a fine line that you need to walk there. But I think the companies are responsible. But having said that, I still believe there are too many players.
But won't the environment take care of that in terms of the smaller players probably won't survive? Isn't that the reality?
I think the environment will take care of it, and unless the infrastructure program comes to market very soon, I think we will see some of the smaller companies finding themselves in difficult space.
How do you define your leadership style, having led the organization through a tough period into a phase where you now are stable?
Yeah, I think the important thing is if you want to lead an organization, it is important that the people that you depend on, the rest of the leadership team, that they buy into the vision that you have for the group. And I think we have achieved that position. I think there's consensus around the table of what it is we need to achieve.
What is your vision? Can you share it with me?
The plan that we have, let me talk about what is known in the market. We have this plan that we refer to as recovery and growth. The recovery is behind us, and we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. The current year and the following financial year is the growth years. Growth will not come from an upturn in the markets that we do business in, but it will come as a consequence of not having these major losses in the business, but also as an outcome of the disposal and acquisition strategy. Because we believe that once that has been implemented, the makeup in terms of the subsidiary companies within Murray & Roberts will be such that it would bring growth even within the current markets. So that is what we have in mind. We're already working on the plan and what we refer to as a new strategic future for Murray & Roberts, but that will only commence after the 3-year recovery and growth plan. So we're talking about a new strategic future for the group, and having said that, I think we must accept that Murray & Roberts is going to be a company in time to come that will be very dependent on other geographies.
I took you in another direction when you were telling me about your leadership style, so my apologies. Okay. Let's go back to that leadership style. Yes,
and what I said earlier on, it is important for that leadership team to believe in that vision and what it is that you would like to achieve. But then it is, for me, it is about, I have a participative management style, but you also need to be firm, because you can't manage an organization and lead a business only through consensus.
When you came in, did you shake up the management team?
We have made a few changes. We have reorganized slightly, but it's very difficult in the construction sector to say that you're going to shake up the management team. It's a difficult industry to play in, and it's not easy to get people from other industries to move into the organization at a very senior level and to make an important contribution.
So there's a small pool of people, in other words?
There's a small pool of people, and one thing that I've learned over this past 18 months is the importance of succession planning. When you go to business school, people talk about succession and succession planning, and it's almost as if companies go through it because it's something that they need to do. But succession planning in the construction sector, I think, is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical that you develop your leaders from within the organization. I'm not saying people I'm not saying people will not change from one company to the other, but I think it's very difficult to be successful in the construction sector if you enter the sector at a senior position.
Is it easy to attract young talent straight out of university? Do they find the construction sector a viable one, a sexy one to come into?
I don't think they find it as sexy as some of the other industries, but I think for people that are truly engineers, they find it attractive. We the other day had a session with our new graduates in the group, and I said to them, the one thing that they must understand is there's a story that goes around saying, people say that your qualification will open up doors for you, and that's not true. Not in the construction sector. All of that qualifications is a key. You must use the key and you must open the door yourself. And it is about your attitude, it is about your commitment, it's about your contribution that you make, it's about the experience that you develop in the early stages of your career that puts you in a position to be successful later on. So many people exit the industry because they find a more easy environment to operate in somewhere else. And they may be successful in the short term, but in the long term there's no replacement for experience, there's no replacement for coming up through the ranks and then to earn the respect that you need to have when you're in a senior position.
Learning on the ground, so to speak.
You have to do that. So I'm excited about the engineers that are still joining the group, but I would not say it's the most sexy industry.
What do you attribute your success to?
I think it is hard work. I see myself as a person that really works hard, but I also try to be smart at what I do. So I think that is important to me. But I've realized very early in my career that you cannot achieve success only by yourself. You need to work through other people as well. And to me the most important thing is to be consistent in the way in which you deal with people and to be fair. People should never question your credibility as a leader in your organization. So it's about being consistent and being fair.
Balance. I get the opportunity to ask every captain that sits in that hot seat how they manage the balance in life, and this is what really gets responses from the audience, because I think everybody battles with balance and being successful. Does that mean you have to work 24/7? What is the solution and what is the answer?
I've been on a nice break over the December period, but my routine was early in the morning. I spent half an hour to an hour behind the laptop.
What time? How early in the morning?
Well, I would say about half past 4 to 5:30.
You see, that's where it starts scaring people.
But that you have to do. I would rather be on holiday knowing what's going on than being on holiday and then wondering what's going on and not knowing. So for me that's good, and it's not a problem at all. You spend that hour in the morning. After that you know what you want to know, and you can enjoy the rest of the day. But it is difficult to maintain that balance, and unless you discipline yourself in that regard, it can very quickly swing out of control. But if you want to be a CEO of an organization, it is demanding, and it does require long hours and commitment. So for me to try and have a bit of a balance, the family life is important to me, but during the week I know that there's very little opportunity for that. So when I'm in the country over the weekend, that's time for family. When I'm not in the country, and that happens quite often.
How much time do you spend on the road?
Well, I would say I travel overseas trips maybe 20 trips a year.
The biggest challenge that you've had to endure to this point in your career? The turnaround of Murray and Roberts.
I think I've been I'm not trying to be smart in saying that. I think I had an easy career up to the time that I joined Murray & Roberts. The construction sector is a tough environment to be in, and I was reasonably successful all along. But the biggest challenge really was with this appointment that I had within Murray & Roberts. It was something that I really wanted, and when I got it, I was very pleased with the appointment. But also I see this as a very exciting experience. I love it. I enjoy it. There's always issues at hand that you need to deal with, but that's part of the excitement. But as I said earlier on, you know, empires of the future are empires of the mind, and I've got a dream for the group, and I've got 10 years up to my normal retirement age that I would be CEO of Murray & Roberts, and there's a lot I want to do within that period.
What do you make of the operating environment within South Africa? Here I'm pulling in themes like politics, etc. Are you confident that we are on a stable footing?
That's a difficult question to answer. I think there are many issues that are of concern, but we are South African. We are part of South Africa, and I think we've got a responsibility to be proactive and to make a contribution wherever we can. And for that reason, as I said earlier on, we will develop and participate and embrace whatever opportunity South Africa brings to us, and we will play a role in developing those opportunities. But the things that do concern us is when you look at the labour market, the labour situation in South Africa. Medupi is in the 3rd week of strike now. There's nothing happening.
I've just come back from the World Economic Forum in Davos, and there we highlighted the economic report, the World Economic Forum's competitiveness report.
Yes.
And on that point, South Africa ranking 143 out of 144 on labour tensions.
Yes.
It detracts from our competitiveness as a country.
It does. And I think that is very difficult. When you're at the point where you have to build a project and things start to happen there, which may not be related to what's happening on that site, but it's influenced through political situations, and that then impacts the operation. So I think that's unnecessary. We should not have that. Whilst we find ourselves in a country where unemployment is a huge crisis, the labour laws are such that it's just making it very difficult for employers to really do what they have to do. And
what
the
is
union
the solution
situation
there? Is it more engagement with government, private sector to meet each other halfway?
I think it's a difficult position. I think the trade unions in South Africa, trade unions are important. They've got a role to play. There needs to be organised labour or organised bodies that represent labour that employers can engage with on an organised basis. But I think the situation in South Africa is a little bit outside of control, and we need some consensus at the leadership level that the unions have got too much power in South Africa. That is my view. I don't know how you're going to change it, because it will be difficult for government to play that role. We know where their support base lies, and the government's finding itself in a difficult position.
A final question from my side. What do you want your legacy to be at Murray & Roberts?
I said earlier on, you know, we're not an arrogant organisation, but I would like to be remembered as a CEO that at the time turned Murray & Roberts around from a very difficult position gave the people hope, and then at the time that I exit the organisation, it must be an organisation that is really performing well from a financial point of view, a much bigger organisation than what it is today, and a successful organisation. I think you would like to end your career on a very high note, and there's no better way of doing it than exiting a very successful organisation.